Neither of these nations has ever won a wheelchair tennis medal at the Paralympic Games. So who will it be? Who will become the 13th nation to win a medal in this sport at the Paralympics? 13, unlucky for some, definitely a number of great fortune for one of these two nations. Fans taking their seats. And we will have the very important traditional start to the games, the coup de bâton, taken from classical French theatre. And that's Elodie and Christophe, who have been hugely important in the orchestration and administration of this event. And one would expect them to be pretty spot on in the thrice striking of the baton, because the organisation has been pretty spot on of this competition so far. So thank you, Elodie and Christophe. Flawless. And you've got to treat that red clay with respect. Thank you to all of those folk of Paris 2024 who've been involved in the organisation and administration of these games.
Donald, RAMPHADI and Lucas SITHOLE.
And here they come, Donald RAMPHADI and Lucas SITHOLE. 31 and 37 respectively. The 6th highest ranked partnership of the 6 in quad double.
You have got to compete. You've got to dig in. You have got to win the bronze. It's something unique about this particular event. Nobody wants to finish 4th place. 3rd place is what it's all about, because that's the best you can do at this moment, and you're on the podium.
They always say, don't they, in any sport at the Olympics and Paralympics, that the bronze medal match is the hardest one, and it's the hardest one to lose.
Yeah, I think, to use a phrase that I think you guys use in Britain a lot, gutted if you come away not getting the bronze. And both of these teams here are going to be really giving everything they could possibly give on this court today to secure, as you mentioned, that historical first ever medal for either one of these teams.
We are moments away from the start of this, the first medal match in wheelchair tennis at Paris 2024.
Like a blink of an eye that we were here starting and kicking off and talking about first round matches, and everything just started, and here we are. We're at a medal match, and it's just amazing that we've come this far already in the competition.
Lots of fans have taken their seats now on Suzanne Longlong Court, and a metaphorical or literal glass always raised to the great Suzanne Longlong, 6 times a French Open champion, winner of 31 majors. And of course to Monsieur Eugène Adrien Roland Georges Garros himself, an aviator and fighter pilot who lost his life in 1918, and after whom this great institution of global sport is named. And one of these two pairs, Paul, are going to become institutions in wheelchair tennis, because they're going to enter Paralympic history.
Somebody's going home here. Somebody's going to the great continent of Africa, or somebody's going to the continent of South Africa, and they're bringing home with them something that nobody from their continent has ever done before. And that's just a remarkable possibility. I think they've all got to be looking at it like opportunity of a lifetime.
Yes, the first African honours, the first South American honours we will discover. We're going to hand over now to the chair umpire, Yevgenia Delushieva, from the beautiful city of Tashkent in Uzbekistan, an ancient Silk Road city that used to be a place where precious commodities, spices, metals were taken all the way from the east through to Europe. Well, it's a different kind of Silk Road now. It's the Silk Road to the Paralympic podium, where the most precious commodity of all is to be won. Not traded, but earned, because a medal at the Paralympic Games awaits. Congratulations then to Yevgenia Delushieva on being selected as the chair umpire for the first medal match in wheelchair tennis at Paris 2024. Congratulations to Donald RAMPHADI and Lucas SITHOLE. Congratulations to Leandro PENA and Ymanitu Silva on making it to this stage.
It's like the South Africans starting to kind of figure out strategically what do they want.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah,
last time for talking, isn't it? And you know, what's that like, these last moments?
Yeah, a lot of times, yeah, I mean, I think of coming out, and we're going to get a full stadium shot here. We've got about half the stadium in shade and half in sun. It's going to change over the course of the time in this match. But right now, those guys are trying to figure out, most of the time, once they get on a side, it's about the serve or the return. Take a choice, stay where you're at. But every now and again, they might put in a little strategic twist there and say, you know what, let's flip sides and let's us warm up over here, and we'll start the match on this side. But we'll see. It's going to happen here rather quickly.
The Brazilian gentleman winning the toss of the coin and electing to receive. What a nice atmosphere at the net there. What sporting spirit. It's a great community, isn't it?
It's a unique community. I've always said these are some of the most fierce competitors in the world, but there's ultimately some sort of a kindred spirit that goes on, and there's a respect and appreciation. You could could see it in that exchange right there at the net. No animosities, just let's go, let's have a great match, and may the best team win. It really sounds kind of trite or kind of cliche, but I think that's what the spirit is right here, right now.
Let's take stock then of what we are expecting from this contest. And in the foreground, closest to the bottom of your screen, Donald RAMPHADI and Lucas SITHOLE, the South African partnership. RAMPHADI ranked 8th in the current doubles rankings, and SITHOLE, who is on the right, 31st. They had a very tough win in their opening contest, 10-6 in the match tiebreak against Francisco Cailef and Diego Perez of Chile. Notoriously hard clay court players to take on. They then lost to the Dutch top seeds, 6-1, 6-1 in the semi-final stage.
Yeah, I had the chance to call that match, that first round match that was so much, and you can go on and talk about this one right here and how the team from Brazil got to these to this bronze medal match.
Well, it couldn't be more different, could it? The path they had in the quarter-final stage, a 6-2, 6-1 victory over the duo from Turkey, Ugur Altinel and Ahmed Kaplan, and then a loss 6-1, 7-5 to Andy Lapthorne and Greg Slade of Great Britain in the semi-final stage. Now, Paul, we expect these two to be, in so many ways, classical clay court players. They're hard to beat. It'll be different stylistically, won't it, looking at RAMPHADI and SITHOLE? Yeah,
the most explosive player on the court is Donald RAMPHADI. I mean, he's got the biggest weaponry, single shot ability to finish a point on the court, but it's about how many opportunities he's going to get. Can SITHOLE set him up for enough opportunities, or can the Brazilians kind of play a 2-on-1 game against SITHOLE and kind of isolate RAMPHADI? I think that's what I'm looking for early on here, and we'll see how that unfolds early. But those two guys right there, the Brazilians, they're going to grind it out. They are no strangers. You can see the clay all over his chair, all over his strapping. I mean, these guys love the dirt, and they're going to get dirty here today, and they're going to grind from start to finish.
You're absolutely right. They are just, they're in their element, aren't they? This is their surface.
100%. You grow up in Brazil playing tennis, and I know it's been mentioned for Silva, his great spirited tennis player inspirations, Guga Kuerten, you know, one of the great Brazilian clay quarters of all time, and then also he loves Guillemot Fils from France. So I mean, he knows guys that know how to play tennis on the clay. So no stranger for him. Great look at the lefty there, Lucas SITHOLE, the highest ranked ever of any of the players on the court. Formerly ranked number 2 in the world and has a singles Grand Slam title in 2013, having won the U.S. Open. So he has achieved at the highest level beyond any of the other 4.
They've both been the South Africans' doubles Grand Slam champions. RAMPHADI last year at the French Open with Andy Lapthorne.
Another lefty. So, I mean, you know, maybe that's the magic. Maybe that righty-lefty magic here on the red clay of Roland Garros. Maybe that is going to be the combination that delivers today.
That gentleman is a graduate of sports management from the University of Johannesburg. Sometimes they call him the Twister. That's his nickname among his teammates. Lucas SITHOLE. Great athleticism as a player. There is the 41-year-old oldest gentleman on the court, Ymanitu Silva. Leandro PENA is from the lovely city of Uberlândia in Minas Gerais. Great part of Brazil, famed for having among the best food cultures in Brazil. I say that with nervousness because everybody in Brazil maintains they have the greatest food culture in Brazil. But he trains Leandro PENA at a lovely place called the Praia Club, which is a stunning multi-sport venue. I've been fortunate enough to actually go there and see the facilities, and it's quite paradisical place, Paul, the Praia Club, because you've got a lovely swimming pool at the centre of it all, and people playing futsal and volleyball and peteca and all forms of tennis on all forms of courts. So I don't know if they've got any grass courts there, but it's the Praia Club. They might well, and then you can retire to the pool with a glass in hand at the end of the day. So, you know, it's a lovely place.
My one trip to Brazil back in 2006 for a World Team Cup competition, coaching the U.S. women's team back in 2006. We stayed at a club. I don't recall the name of the club, but I think of a similar nature where you get the sense that there's just vibrancy and life going on. Tennis courts there, pools, restaurants, all on site, really luxurious, lush. I mean, really was a phenomenal atmosphere back in 2006. I have fond memories of that. So my one time in Brazil, great memories.
Just saw the lovely sight of the traditional yellow and blue attire of the Seleção Brasileira in the crowd, and actually the even more,
End of woman.
perhaps, should we say, hipster choice of the yellow and green stripes, which is the oldest colours of the Brazilian national football team. Back in the early 1900s, they wore yellow and green, not as well known for it nowadays.
Is there much of a tradition of football in Brazil?
I think that a couple of people play, yes.
Okay, I really didn't know if that's something that was significant down in that part of the world. We'll get those folks started on football or soccer, as you would like to call it. It is a craze, as it is so many places in the world. And Brazil.
Well, here we go. It is time to discover the destination of the first medal in wheelchair tennis at Paris 2024. And we will learn in X amount of time, because there's no telling how long this one might be, who will be the 13th nation to win a wheelchair tennis medal at the Paralympics. Neither South Africa nor Brazil have ever made it onto the podium before. One of them will today.
You referenced that first round match against the Chileans that the South Africans were able to come through. That's a 3-hour match, and that's with a match tiebreaker. But that was just over 3 hours. I think it was 3 hours and 1 minute. So we got plenty of action ahead of us here today.
Lucas,
You're watching the quad doubles bronze medal match in wheelchair tennis at Paris 2024. South Africa against Brazil. Neither nation has ever won a medal before at the Games. Let's find out who takes it. Paul Walker alongside me. Paul, what is it that you really expect to see stylistically in this match?
Well, like I said early on in the opening there, and you could see it on example there in the first point, Donald RAMPHADI doesn't get to touch the ball. So right now, at least, again, we're only 1 point in, but that sends a signal to me pretty early. We do not want to let him get hot and get on a roll. He's the one that can really hurt you.
Out.
And what's difficult there, of course, if you are the player who's
15-all.
out of the points, is you feel compelled to get in there and sometimes maybe artificially engineer the wrong opportunity?
Yeah, your level of patience is tested just constantly. You're like, okay, am I going to get one opportunity? And if so, you know, do I stay steady? Do I kind of keep the point, or do I just kind of overplay too often? And it's a tough role to play, but some of these guys figure it out and know how to induce themselves into the point when necessary.
And if you're not steady, if you're having an inconsistent day, those two gentlemen, Leandro PENA and Ymanitu Silva, will be all over you. They'll bring out errors, won't they?
Yeah, they're just going to be like balls in play, solid wall. So far, we haven't seen anybody going forward. Just going to be content to get warmed up here in the match, kind of find some rhythm, find some groove, strike a lot of balls. That's what they would prefer. It's like a warm-up session.
Just steady, low-risk hitting there from Leandro PENA, and it worked.
And again, the attack on SITHOLE, again, they're not allowing him, especially as the server, they're not allowing him to get any mobility created. So he's stuck, and the return comes in hard to him, and then he's kind of locked in there, and he doesn't have that ability to get moving and get rolling.
Dynamic of the point changed there, didn't it, when RAMPHADI came into play? But nonetheless, the break of serve has been achieved at the start from the Brazilians.
And it was the error off of the RAMPHADI racket that produced it. And so really great start there for the Brazilians. But that was the first real point we saw there where everybody got involved. That return to serve game, as probably has been talked about a lot in wheelchair tennis, is so dynamic because that server is really vulnerable as the returners in motion and the other three players in doubles on the court can be in motion, but that server can really get locked down if that return comes to them strong. Once that's established, they'll tend to stay on that server.
PENA to serve.
This remarkable gentleman, by the way, only actually started playing wheelchair tennis in 2019. He is athletically almost implausibly good, considering how little time he's been playing.
It really doesn't make any sense. The first time I saw him was at World Team Cup in Sardinia some years ago, and I could tell, I was like, there's an athlete. There's a guy that is a grinder, knows how to be athletic, knows how to compete. I think that was the biggest thing I took away from him in his early introduction to world-class wheelchair tennis. He was a competitor, and he's continued to hone his skills as a tennis player, and is only getting better and better.
Again, it's classical clay court play, isn't it? Just extend the rally, keep it going, and force the error.
Yeah, a lot of high looping balls there, trying to get some people uncomfortable with balls up above the shoulders. Again, RAMPHADI showing that he's a little bit more functional in some ways, able to take some bigger swings. A few other players with some balance issues that can be exposed with balls up high.
That's lovely. Now, that's the thing about Silva that complements PENA, because he's more of a bold shot maker, isn't he?
Yeah, and that's the experience showing off right there. I mean, he gets a ball right in his strike zone right there. That one wasn't above the shoulders. And RAMPHADI really didn't do a good job of taking care of his side of the court right there. Left that alley exposed. Pays the price.
Clever, very clever.
14,
Really nice. He was in that exchange with SITHOLE on the cross court, and just when they think that maybe he's going one more time there, just splits it right down the middle. RAMPHADI cannot get to it in time. That was really beautiful. And so now we've seen two examples of a little bit of patient firepower coming from the Brazilians.
Different dynamic to that point. RAMPHADI clearly coming into the net early on and just lurking and waiting for the chance.
Yeah, I think a big part of coming forward in wheelchair tennis, we'll see it here a little bit. We see it a lot in the men's game, somewhat in the women's. I'll continue on that in a second here as we watch this point.
Lovely. And that actually was what they were going for, the South Africans, with the previous point, wasn't it? To come in and...
Yeah, so what Donald's able to do here is start to shrink the court. Now he makes PENA and Silva be shot makers. Now they can't just find some big wide open space that they can hit to anywhere, relax and just hit and keep the ball in play. They've got to be more precise. And if you're not spot on, you're going to get examples of that right there. Easy volleys for RAMPHADI for deuce.
That was a fascinating point.
Yeah, nice job of RAMPHADI and SITHOLE doing great communication, exchanging positions. SITHOLE initially in the front court, but recognizing that's not my strength. Donald coming forward, applying the pressure, forcing the action. A little bit stronger ball there. Brazilians not able to handle that off the racket of RAMPHADI.
unplayable. Splendid from Pena, beautiful angle, and break point saved. And he will do that, Leandro Pena. Every so often, you'll see this unexpected, beautifully struck winner from him.
Looked very comfortable doing that. That was not forced at all. I would have said that that was the best kind of configuration for the South Africans right there, having SITHOLE on the do side and RAMPHADI on the ad side, being able to come forward with his forehand in the middle, and SITHOLE's backhand typically stronger than the forehand. But the error from SITHOLE doesn't really support that theory.
Cheerio.
That supported it right there. Thank you for making my words a little bit more true to form there, Lucas SITHOLE. That backhand was right where it needed to be.
Well, very often in sport you can have right idea, wrong outcome. It doesn't mean that you should change.
Correct.
Gardez le soleil, s'il vous plaît, merci.
I don't know about you, Paul. I think this is an utterly engrossing match already.
Yeah, we're only, what, second game in, and we're starting to see some of the dynamics we talked about in the opening unfold. I mean, there's the one-shot, abilities of RAMPHADI, and he's going to make you pay, especially, say, on that second serve opportunity right there that he took advantage of.
There we are, back-to-back breaks of serve to open this bronze medal contest at Paris 2024. It's the third meeting between these partnerships. They've both previously played at the Wheelchair Tennis World Team Cup. Pena and Silva won 6-4, 6-3 last year in the fifth place playoff, and they won 6-2, 6-1 in the group stage this year. That latter meeting was on clay. Nonetheless, we should approach those with asterisks next to them for various reasons, which we'll go into after this next point.
Silence, s'il vous plaît, merci. Merci.
There we go. That is Pena's extraordinary ability to find a bold shot out of nowhere.
Yeah, I don't know how much this was by design or just out of necessity as he's tracking that down. Looked pretty comfortable, like I think I'm just going to dump this one into the short court. So all credit there to Pena. Discovering some magic there that I didn't know he possessed. Should probably mention that he defeated that guy right there, Donald RAMPHADI, in the singles competition here. I was really surprised with that outcome. So clearly he is coming along. You mentioned only starting competitively in 2019, and here he is at the Paralympic stage, looking very comfortable.
To return to the World Team Cup and those previous meetings that they've had. Sometimes, Paul, and you know this better than most because you've actually played in the competition, they can be hard to judge, can't they, those meetings?
Yeah, especially the pool play. You talked about the 5th, 6th. It's a long competition. It lasts a week. And by the time you get down to those playoff positions, having gone through pool play and then ultimately saying, all right, does it really matter if we finish 5th or 6th? It's kind of like, bingo right there on RAMPHADI with the backhand.
And it certainly matters if you finish 3rd or 4th at the Paralympic Games.
Yes, that we've already detailed. There's a big difference between 3rd and 4th at a Paralympic Games or 5th and 6th at a World Team Cup. And so, you know, you're at the end of a long week and maybe you're just like, I'm just tired. I'm ready for my trip home. Pool play, it could be a dead rubber. In other words, like you've already been swept in singles, so you're playing the doubles because in pool play you have to play the doubles because of tiebreaker scenarios that could come into play. And so maybe there you're still not even that interested in the outcome. So yeah, you almost kind of take them with a grain of salt, those matches, these head-to-heads that they've had so far.
He said that he never saw himself as a tennis player, and the only reason Donald RAMPHADI actually went along to play was that a staff member at school suggested it, and he was particularly bored that day. Just decided, well, I'll give it a go.
Timing is everything.
That's marvellous coverage. No wonder SITHOLE reacts as he does there, because the fight to win that point.
Yeah, fortunately for him, he's left-handed. He's got that additional extension right there. He gets it, goes into the wall, ricochets off, ready to get right back in play. Not necessary. PENA with the error.
We have had the first hold of
time.
If you are just joining the action in the quad doubles bronze medal match at Roland Garros Stadium and called Suzanne Lenglen at Paris 2024 between Donald RAMPHADI and Lucas SITHOLE of South Africa and Leandro PENA and Ymanitu Silva of Brazil. We are with serve, but after 2 breaks of serve. And it is stylistically absolutely enthralling, this.
Well, we're starting to see a little bit of momentum here on this South African side. RAMPHADI forcing the action a little bit, SITHOLE digging in a little bit, getting a little bit of some better looks on his ground strokes, which is going to be the foundation of their game. Got a pretty good look at that one right there. I mean, really caught PENA just kind of sitting, not really ready at all. I didn't see any mobility created at all prior to that return, and really caught him unaware. It looks like he's going to leave that line somewhat exposed in an attempt to help relieve pressure in the middle on the PENA serve. As talked about earlier, that server being vulnerable sometimes. And look how far over PENA is, really taking care of that middle.
Good placement there from PENA.
15,
What
14.
Leandro PENA has is an ability to read a game. And that's remarkable, again, for somebody who's still relatively embryonic in their tennis career.
Yeah, I think that comes from probably having a sports background. He just understands sports. And when you've played other sports, your ability to translate them into your new sport of choice, tennis for him, I think it becomes easier to understand how do I win. That's the key here. I don't have to be pretty necessarily.
That is yet again brilliant coverage from SITHOLE. RAMPHADI looked at him at the end of that point as if to say, yeah, you got that one, that was your work.
And that's the setup that I talked about earlier. I think that's the ideal. And again, see how often they can get into that setup on the court. That would be their preferred look right there. SITHOLE looked very comfortable in that exchange. Brazilians having a little conversation down there, up there at the top of the screen. A little momentum starting to build here for the South Africans.
Such an elegant striker of the ball, isn't he?
I think especially on that backhand side, looks so comfortable. He has better balance on the backhand side. When he comes across, he has a better balance. On his forehand side, without that other hand to grip and hold and give stability, he's missing a limb on that right arm. That's pretty impressive. And so he is a remarkable player. A couple of fellows just out having a hit.
It needed a dynamic change, didn't it? And it got it.
And it was the veteran SITHOLE who produced it. Willing to change it up, mix it up.
And I suppose that's what you've got to factor in when you're taking on PENA and SILVA, is you either respond to their game and just try not to make a mistake, or you put some extra salt and pepper into the rally and try to win the point.
Yeah, and I think that's what RAMPHADI's trying to do by going forward, and that what we just saw as an example there from SITHOLE with something a little bit different. Great angle there, going to expose things.
They're really in a purple patch at the moment, aren't they? They're looking great.
I don't even know what a purple patch is, but go ahead and tell me all about it.
Just means they're in form.
Okay. Is it a flower thing? What are we talking about?
No idea.
No idea. It just sounds good. Purple patch. All right. I'm going to use it. Look at that right there from Lucas. SITHOLE splits the Brazilians, and they take the game at love. Very comfortably, looking smooth. Everything downhill for the South Africans right now.
4-1 in this bronze medal match. Brilliant work from RAMPHADI and SITHOLE. I am to tell you, Paul, that a purple patch refers to ornate and lavish writing. Comes from 16th century literature, apparently. So I've just learned that for the first time,
okay.
but has since become used just to mean a great period of form, a great spell.
Okay.
And they are in a great spell, aren't they?
They are. They've been on a nice little roll here. Really kind of finding their form, finding the groove. They've been able to create rhythm in their game with a game plan. And it's the Brazilians who we talked about likely being the patient grinders who are being the inconsistent, unforced error makers right now.
So just to flip this, what do they do?
Yeah, I think they've got to make a determination of, all right, we've got to be a little bit more specific with our shot making, not just balls in play. Let's really be, maybe it's attack the middle a little bit more. Maybe it's actually go to RAMPHADI a few more times and kind of ice the consistency that SITHOLE's created right now. Donald's going to be explosive, but he's going to be kind of a hot and cold player sometimes. Maybe you can catch him on a cold streak.
Not quite. What a point. I mean, the work rate there from SITHOLE early on. Right idea, just didn't quite get it.
Yeah, and that's going to be a tough volley. He's trying to make the volley on some angle right there from that position on the court. That's a little bit ill-advised. I think he's better to punch that volley through the middle. Really not an angled position on the court there for that volley. Tried to do a little too much, but still pressing the action, and that's part of their strategy. So even, you know, it's kind of like lose the battle, can you still win the war kind of thing?
Well, the gap was there for Silva.
Probably saying, I make that 90% of the time. Yeah, you know, talking to his camp, talking to his coaches, you know I make that shot. Coach is like, yep, yeah.
But the problem is 90% of the time is not a Paralympic Games medal match.
There.
And it's just the different sense of occasion, isn't it? That they would be only human to feel the pressure of this, to feel the magnitude of it.
Yeah, but I'll circle back to the format. It's a unique format. I like it really a lot. Maybe they struggle in this set. Maybe the South Africans are just too good in this set. Can they settle, take the second, force the breaker, which would really be dynamic.
That's such quick thinking and clever play from Donald Ramphadi. Difficult striking angle. And a fabulous start from the South Africans, who got another break of serve.
Yeah, he was looking for help right there from SITHOLE and realized it's not there. He's not going to get it. And so it was only on his racket if he could get it at all. And boy, he did get it.
5-1. They will now serve for the first set. It's one thing, Paul, to play that ball, but to actually win the point with that ball, I mean, that's extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, again, he's that kind of player that's going to, we saw in the volley attempt on the point that he missed. He's going to go for some things, and that's been the key to their success. When he goes for things and misses, he can't back off. That is part of their team dynamic. He has got to be the striker, the guy that finishes, some high risk, some high reward. If he stays in that mode, they are a dangerous team.
Meanwhile, SITHOLE is the chap who gets everything.
He's been a rock so far, and that's a great example. Not only did he get to that ball, but had the presence to throw it up. There was a little bit of chaos. They were out of position. Now he doesn't give a nice ball for PENA to get to quickly. Forces him with a no-pace ball into the air. Again, that's a veteran play by Lucas SITHOLE right there. Calmly dig that ball out. A lot of effort to get there, then calmly just throw it up.
Very sound tennis, this. Very intelligent tennis.
Yeah, the first ball that pulls PENA out, he's able to dig down, and then that second volley, not going for too much, but just the depth on that next volley is what really was the problem for PENA.
You would back him many times to make it.
Yeah, and the score, you know, that's a score-based decision right there. You're up 30-love. You got a ball you can handle. You're in an offensive position. Take a rip. You know, you catch it. You're 40-love. You're cruising. You're keeping momentum. You're keeping that kind of aggressive nature. You want to continue to have that mindset.
Similar sort of idea there.
Same thing, and he cannot back off. I mean, if I'm Lucas SITHOLE right now, I'm saying, keep swinging. Those are good decisions. Just a little bit of error of execution, but the decisions are not bad decisions. And he has got to maintain that aggressive posture. And again, 2 points, unforced errors, but you're only back to 30 all. Really nothing lost.
Brilliant, lovely angle there from Ymanitu Silva, and the Brazilians have a break point.
At 5-1, yeah, I don't think they're sweating things out too much here, South Africans. But that is that's a good indicator for Silva to kind of get himself into the match a little bit. 2 well-struck balls in a row. Been the least involved player in the match so far.
Well, we have got an interruption to this excellent spell for the South Africans. That's the first game won in 6 for the Brazilians. 5-2. Have we just witnessed a mere interruption? Or is it a sign that things are about to change? It's maybe a fanciful thought at 5-2 in the first set, but strange things can happen in the wonderful sport of tennis. It's got a scoring system that lends itself to twists and turns of momentum. This is now a big service game for the Brazilian gentleman. Because if they can get a hold of serve here, suddenly it will feel a little less comfortable for RAMPHADI and SITHOLE. And that was a clever shot, wasn't it? Looped into the corner.
Yeah, great shot there by PENA again, who continues to position himself securely in the center of that court, playing the percentages on the returns. We'll see if the South Africans, we saw a forehand down the line from SITHOLE earlier. We'll see if he's able to get back to that and really try to pull PENA back out of the court instead of allowing him to hover in that center spot.
Not up.
Interesting term you used a moment ago there, Paul. You talked about playing percentages. For people who are new to watching wheelchair tennis, what exactly are you meaning by that, and how does that apply here?
Yeah, it's the same principles of tennis, period, whether it's wheelchair or a body tennis. You're just talking about the lower part of the net going through the middle of the court, whereas the lines, the net's higher. You actually bring the lines into play so you can miss wide, but the biggest target in the court is in the middle. And teams tend to want to really protect that middle area. It's the easiest shot for players to make shots to the middle, so you have to always protect the middle. But boy, exposed there right now with some magic from RAMPHADI.
Everything in tennis, as it is in most sports, comes down to the extent to which you are willing to risk and how well you judge those moments of risk.
Yeah, it sounds crazy, but it's all mathematical equations, really. It's all about those percentages. You're talking about risk, reward, payoff, return on investment. You know, riskier attempts and investments, maybe bigger payoffs, bigger bank account, but you know, possibly some greater losses as well. So it's just pure math.
Maybe even Paralympic bronze. It's set point for the South Africans, the second one. Oh, it's most regrettable, a double fault, and it is the first double fault of the entire match. It means it's the opening set then for Donald RAMPHADI and Lucas SITHOLE of South Africa as they bid to become the first from their nation ever to win a wheelchair tennis medal at the Paralympic Games. The exquisite setting of the Jardin de Tuileries, the Tour Eiffel in the background, the great architecture of Paris. Some of it classical, some of it much more modern. And there could well be a moment of modern history in the making here as RAMPHADI and SITHOLE have the first 6-2. "38 minutes of play, and interestingly, not as many unforced errors from the South Africans as the Brazilians, and that's an alarming statistic for the Brazilians.
Yes, that's some clean tennis from South Africa, really kind of weighing their options. We'll get a good look at some highlights right here from set number one, and we'll see how it is that the South Africans were able to produce that rather comfortable first set victory. I think the foundation of it was really the steady play of Lucas SITHOLE. When he's steady, he frees up RAMPHADI to take risk.
14.
There weren't many moments where it was the Brazilian partnership producing the spectacular winner. More, it was that sort of shot we were seeing from RAMPHADI, encroaching, getting up to the net, SITHOLE doing the hard work from the baseline, and then a rather sad conclusion. It's always difficult, isn't it, when a set ends with a double fault, because you wonder if the player takes that into the change of ends with them and just thinks about what might have been.
Yeah, I think that the Brazilians are going to regroup here, come out with some renewed energy and some new fight here in the start of the second set. But if the South Africans can get up early, boy, stem that momentum change, that would be important.
The beautiful sight of the Eiffel Tower, the beautiful sight of court Suzanne Lenglen, and the beautiful prospect of medals to be won at the Paralympic Games in the sport of wheelchair tennis. Action will resume in just a moment. More to come in this quad doubles bronze medal match. The wave is working its way around court Suzanne Longlong. And frankly, on the crest of a wave at the moment, Donald RAMPHADI and Lucas SITHOLE, who have been playing some very stylish and exciting tennis. It is going to be extremely interesting to see what this does in terms of the mentality of PENA and SILVA and how they come out in the second set, but also, Paul, how actually RAMPHADI and SITHOLE approach the second set, because sometimes the worst feeling that you can have, and elite athletes say this all the time, the worst feeling you can have is the feeling of we're in control and we're winning.
Yeah, I was doing a doubles match last night, and it was a very hotly contested first set, and then the second set, it just one team, the opposite team who won from the first set, who won, just stormed off, reeled off 5 straight games in like a matter of no time. And it was like just this classic example of how doubles can be sometimes. And the momentum swings that can happen, it doesn't make sense. It's not really able to, you're not able to really explain it. It's just the nature of this sport of tennis and how the ebbs and the flows happen. And we'll see if we get ebbs and flows. But right now the flow has mostly been, not mostly, almost exclusively been on the side of RAMPHADI and SITHOLE.
It's why we love tennis. It's why we love sport. It's the mathematics, the data analysis, combined with the nature of people to be people, humans to be humans, because yes, these are elite athletes, but first and foremost, they're human beings subject to the same psychological pressures that everyone is subject to the same self-doubts and errors of judgment that we're all subject to. And what makes sport fascinating is that it's played by people who behave like people.
How dare they?
Exactly.
Yeah, but you know, we've hyped out that this is a historical match. You know, at what point do the South Africans start to think, hey, we're moments away from a bronze medal match? And that might be one of the worst thoughts you could have. It sounds crazy, but you really need to be like, I've got a first serve to put in here. I've got a return to make here. That's where they need to stay on the small, you know, really minuscule details of how you win a tennis match. Not about, you know, potentially standing or sitting on a podium. Nope, it's about serves, returns, forehands, backhands, volleys.
Merci.
Play the ball, not the occasion.
There you go. Summed up beautifully.
Set number 2. Lucas SITHOLE to serve. That can be one of the most tried and tested strategies, can't it, in doubles play, to go down the middle into almost the confusion zone between the pair?
Well, you're forcing a decision point, you know. I mean, and again, most really good doubles teams have that decision made. Who's handling majority of the middle balls? But ultimately, is it purely at the 50% mark, or is it 49-51, and can there be any little doubt created for that doubles team? And if there is, and it's just a slight hesitation, that's enough.
What a treat of a point that was.
Yeah, pretty much. Silva, just go ahead and stay over there and just continue to stay engaged, but you're not going to see any tennis balls. PENA doing a phenomenal job. And in the end, it ends up being a SITHOLE error, but really, RAMPHADI tried to, you know, kind of introduce himself to the point a couple of times. And we're at 15-all. All that for 15-all.
Now,
15, 13.
tried and tested clay court gambit of force the errors, of get the ball back and make your opponents feel the pressure. It's working in the early stages of set number 2.
Yeah, it's all on PENA right now. And he's holding up in the early going here in the second set. Clearly, it's the South Africans who have said, you know what, we're going to make the least experienced player on this court beat us. Not a bad strategy. We'll see if it continues to produce for him.
But sometimes that's exactly what the least experienced player wants, isn't it? To have the opportunity to go, okay, you want to take me on? I'll take you on.
Yeah, we talked about his inexperience in the tennis world, but that doesn't mean he's, and I used that term earlier, an inexperienced competitor. He might really embrace the fight. And he say, oh, you're going to come at me? Okay. Yeah. And I think that is his nature.
What an absolutely stunning shot that was from Ymanitu Silva. Found the invisible gap.
Not getting enough angle. I think SITHOLE wanted a little more angle on that ball and put it right into the strike zone of Silva. No hesitation. Up and over, and no answer.
What a perfect start for the Brazilians. They break at the beginning of set number 2.
Well, they did that in set number 1, and we'll see if things unfold differently from the same start here in set number 2.
Come on.
It was at this point in the first set that the South Africans just took over and went on a run. So we'll see if things unfold differently here.
Merci.
Just the second double fault of the contest. They've both been Brazilian ones, one for each player. Got an incredible angle on that, didn't he, Silva? He's so good at finding the line.
He hasn't had a lot of looks today, and I got to give him credit for the few that he's had. He's produced a lot. And so clearly the strategy to kind of keep him iced, South Africans might be wise to stay there.
Absolute veteran. It was 10 years ago that he won the singles gold medal at the South American Games in Santiago.
That's a miss there by PENA, but I think that's a good stroke for him. I mean, I think that level of commitment to that stroke is what they need a little bit more from him in particular. So sometimes there's such a thing as a good error.
Similar sort of outcome. He's a little exasperated with himself, the 34-year-old. 2 break points.
He certainly has a level disposition. I mean, again, 2 errors in a row there. Yeah, you can tell he's a little bit miffed by it, but he's not coming out of his just kind of natural disposition.
And that is a very comfortable break of serve, actually, from the South Africans. And as you said, Paul, in the first set, this is where it all started to become one-way traffic.
Yeah, that's a ball there at 15-40. You know, Silva's just got to get a ball and play there. You're in charge of the scoreboard. You're 40-15. Yeah, I think you take that crack at that angled shot there. But at 15-40, you need balls in play. You got to get back to the heart of your strategy, which is a lot of balls in play. So it's a little bit of a mistake there by Silva, but he just hasn't seen a lot of action, so he's eager to get involved.
Just to remind you that you are watching the first medal match of the Paris 2024 Paralympic Games. It is the wheelchair tennis quad doubles bronze medal match. If you are new to the sport of wheelchair tennis, just a brief word on the classifications. There are essentially two classifications, what amounts to the open classification and the quad. The open classification is for players who have a permanent physical disability resulting in substantial loss of function in one or both lower extremities. And for the quad, it's the same criteria with the additional criterion of substantial loss of function in one or both upper extremities.
15-13.
Yeah, and there's some really varying degrees on all of that, and it's what makes the sport very dynamic. It's pretty wide open, and a lot of different abilities out there.
You get the sense here, don't you, Paul, of a set that is waiting for someone to take control of it in the early stages?
Yeah, I'm feeling like it's almost like a little bit of a lull. Everything's just hovering right now, and just nobody's really stepping up, looking to take charge of things. Now that's an attempt from RAMPHADI, and I think that's a strategy that I would like to see them try to employ a little bit more. You know, clearly the Brazilians want to hover and stay back behind that baseline. Haven't seen many, if any, attempts to go forward and employ themselves into the front court. I would be wanting to pull one of them up and separate them from that dynamic team that they are back on the baseline. Maybe easier said than done. He tried to make that drop shot from a tough position, but I'd be looking for more opportunities like that.
Wasn't that good placement? Break point well saved.
14.
Interesting then to think about which of the Brazilians you try to pull in. Do you try to give that gentleman a lot to do on the baseline and bring PENA away from covering the court so well?
Yeah, and I think the thing is, I mean, it sends a signal to me there's a reason why they're staying back there. Maybe there's just a lack of proficiency up at the net, don't feel comfortable up there. I'd like to get somebody forward, and then I'd like to attack them a little bit and see can they hold up with the volleys. Again, that would be separating them from what they're accustomed to being, which is baseliners.
He's an extraordinarily fit and technical player, SITHOLE, but he's also clever as anything, isn't he?
Well, the most experienced player here. And yeah, he's kind of hearkening back to those days when he was one of the dominant forces in the quad division. And he's kind of, for varying reasons, been out of the sport a little bit, kind of come back in again. He's kind of having a renewed second career, now playing the number 2 to Donald RAMPHADI's number 1, the role that, that Lucas played for so many years. And I think he's inspired by an opportunity like this, a medal match here at the Paralympic Games.
It's a third break point for the duo of Leandro PENA and Ymanitu Silva. They have it. 3 breaks of serve in a row at the start of set number 2. Roar from the Brazilian fans watching on, a sense of an energized Team Brazil. Can they consolidate? It's 2-1.
Time.
Welcome one and all to Roland Garros Stadium, to court Suzanne Longlong, and to the first medal event in wheelchair tennis at the Paralympic Games of 2024. One of these two nations will become the 13th to get onto the podium in this sport, the history of the Paralympic Games. Therefore, South Africa and Brazil both in pursuit of their first ever medal in this sport. It is a great occasion in a great place, in a great city, with 4 great players contesting it. And at the moment, we are in a different sort of stage of the match. It feels as though the set is waiting for somebody to seize it, to take control of it. Might it be the Brazilians?
Yeah, that's RAMPHADI right there, just kind of looking uncomfortable on that return. I mean, that was a ball down below the knees. Error is kind of mounting for the South Africans here, and they really go into this second set, something that they were able to avoid in the first set.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because in the first set, the South African pair had 5 unforced errors. They've already had 5 unforced errors in this set. And you talked, Paul, about the Brazilians perhaps hoping that they would get a drop in level from their opponents, and maybe that's happening.
Yeah, that break that we had in between sets there, that was a little extended break when one of the players left the court. That happens in tennis, every level of tennis. U.S. Open is happening right now in New York, one of the grandest stages, the Grand Slam that's going on. It happens there. It's one of the unique disruptors of rhythm. Some people call it a little bit of gamesmanship. Sometimes it's just very legitimate. Nonetheless, it produces that same result oftentimes.
That was a hard worked 4 points from him.
Really much needed right there. They needed to kind of settle down, grind out a point like that, get back to what was working for them in the first set. And it was SITHOLE who was the rock in that first set. And he demonstrated it right there again.
Merci.
What a piece of play from Silva. That is his great skill, isn't it? That's what he brings to the team, is that ability to finish off a point when it's needed.
Yep, reads the court so well, just kind of pushes in, has a great sense for things. Kind of sees SITHOLE leaning a little towards the middle.
And a brilliant serve as well. That's just the tonic for the Brazilians. A comfortable hold. It's the first hold of serve we've had in the entire set. And it's the first hold of serve for the Brazilians in this match.
Couldn't come at a better time, separating right there. I mean, 2-2. I mean, again, we always talk about these dynamics. That 3-1, that separation, that two-game gap is so huge for that continuing momentum, you know, creation that the Brazilians clearly have right now. Now the pressure's starting to shift to the South Africans. SITHOLE struggled in his first service game. Here he is now serving 1-3.
Too much of a stretch to control. This is a different Brazil.
Yeah, right now this is what we expected from them in the beginning. We didn't really get it in the first set, but they've kind of zoned in and honed in on the recipe right now.
The South African pair forced 11 errors from the Brazilians in set one, 2 in set 2 thus far. He did amazingly, yet again, to pick up a winning shot out of that point. I think a little chuckle from RAMPHADI as they acknowledge the fact that that probably wasn't textbook communication.
No, not at all. I mean, but you know what? Sometimes you just got to create. And in the moment, he was able to do it right there. But he's got to be able to inject himself a little bit more. That's what I see. Donald RAMPHADI's got to get a way to get on the ball more often. And it can't just be by going forward all the time. Staying back, maybe taking a few more middle balls, even that 55-45 percentage of the court, 40-60, and getting his racket on just a few more balls. See, right there, that's an example. And they should have executed a switch right there.
Nice soft touch, delicacy from the clever Donald RAMPHADI.
Not a lot of switching going on from the South Africans, and I think if they did that, they could create a little bit more confusion for the Brazilians as to where, right now, it's so easy to pinpoint, where's SITHOLE? All right, that's where we want to go, avoid RAMPHADI. But if they're mixing and matching them, which they have the mobility and the abilities to do, they're just not choosing to do it that much.
And of course, the last thing you want to be doing as you're about to strike a ball is having a moment of doubt in your mind as to which side you're going to.
Yes, exactly. You want to be fully committed. You want to say, all right, I know where my target is. I go at it. I stay head down on the ball, not looking, peeking. Is it going to be the same person that I'm hitting to? Rampadi's got to get back to committing to his stroke, not kind of trying to stay steady. He's got to commit, go all out, impose himself a little bit more.
Just got the length absolutely spot on, SITHOLE, as Ramphadi was yet again forced to simply to spectate that point.
Yeah, and I don't know that that strategy is going to pay off for them by being so singularly just kind of up there hovering. They've figured out how to avoid him up there, and it puts a lot of pressure on SITHOLE to have to hit something really dynamic for Ramphadi to get a look.
PENA really particularly seems to have found his range, doesn't he, in getting over the top of Ramphadi.
I would almost shift SITHOLE hard to one side and let Ramphadi take over maybe 60% of that court and get better looks in. Right there, that shift right there, he should stay farther. SITHOLE should stay more in this corner and let Ramphadi stay back here.
Little touch of fortune. But it is the hold of serve that was most needed for the South Africans. They seem to remain in good spirits, even though they are trailing by a break in this second set. They, after all, are ahead, having won the first 6-2.
Les joueurs sont prêts. Merci.
And just like the last game with the hold for South Africa, it's the early error here from the Brazilians as their error count starts to tick up a little bit, get closer to leveling things off here in the second set. Bad tactical approach there from Ramphadi, trying to let that ball, never let the ball get down below the level of the net. That is kind of almost like a rule number one, unless you're going to go super touch there. He's trying to incorporate both angle and a little bit of pop off that ball from below the net. That's a problem. He's got to get that ball while it's high.
down. That's the gap. Found it more assertively in a point there, Paul, that is more reminiscent of set one.
Yeah, and that's what I had said earlier. He's got to get back to the commitment for shots like that, where he's not hesitating, not kind of, well, I'll give it that 80% ball. He's like, commit. Even if there's an error there, that's what is making that team dynamic. Because that just puts the pressure on these guys. They feel they're under that intense, heavy weight of his attacks. Point was over like 3 times already. Here we are.
Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. Be serious and please respect the laws of physics at some point, Lucas SITHOLE. How on earth, Paul?
Yeah, that's the most dynamic point we've had in the entire match. We had Brazilians going forward, we've had RAMPHADI going forward, and ultimately, what is it? It's the big lob from the lefty.
Did nobody tell him that that point was over?
Don't tell me they're not in this thing to win it.
2 break points.
30-14.
RAMPHADI trying to go one and done right there. Could be a real big momentum swinger if these South Africans can get this break here. Yet, says Leandro. PENA.
What a massive service game this is for the Brazilians. And they will have to deal with another break point opportunity. This could be the momentum-shifting moment of set number 2. Well. Suddenly, from 3-1, it is level. Set number 2 is finely balanced. The question is that now really psychologically advantaged RAMPHADI and SITHOLE?
Yeah, I think that's a really good momentum swinger right there. Got the hold, got the break right back, and you saw the separation that they were able to produce there by pulling PENA off the court, opening it up, and then the strength of the RAMPHADI shot, just not enough for Silva to track it down. And that's what they need to try to do more of, really separate that Brazilian team.
Merci.
You almost wonder if that one single outrageous point won by SITHOLE was the thing that lit the fire in what had been maybe a slightly quiet set from the South Africans.
Kind of feel the intensity certainly picking up. We talked about a little lull in the beginning of this set. It's not there anymore.
Wasn't that clever? Wasn't that clever?
Kind of catches RAMPHADI a little bit flat there. I don't think he expected that at all. He was expecting that ball just to go over to SITHOLE, as it has so many times today. Caught off guard.
SITHOLE has played in a bronze medal match before at the Paralympics. He was 4th in the quad singles in Rio, losing to David Wagner. You get the sense that Lucas SITHOLE is attacking this match with as much vivacity as we have ever seen from him in his career.
Yeah, he's a low-key kind of guy, but you're seeing on a couple of occasions, big point that we talked about earlier, he knows what these big points mean. He knows what these big moments mean. He's been there, he's done it a little bit. He's gone to the top of the mountain at a Grand Slam, and he's kind of really I think he's kind of taken himself back to those moments, the pinnacles of his career, and he's bringing them to the court today.
Not the easiest one to take.
No, and that one there, you know, if they get to you on and you're not in a good position, he's best to just kind of say, you know what, can't finish here, so don't lose the point. That one has just got to be bunted back to the middle of the court as best you can, even with a little air. That ball's up above, you can look to finish. Down below there, it's trouble zone. Great serve there, though.
Goodness, what quality at that stage as well. 3-all, 30-all.
Really got in on the body of Silva there. That's one of the great serves in wheelchair tennis, if you can really bore down on the body, not let people get extended.
Wasn't that vision? He knew exactly where that winning shot needed to be placed.
Yeah, once again, I think it's RAMPHADI kind of hedging the bet, thinking, all right, I got to protect and help a little bit to the middle, getting caught a little. See his momentum, he really kind of stopped his momentum there. He's got to get a little bit more depth and then come in and be able to push out of that recovery. Probably covers that ball if he does. Oh, I was going to say, got PENA out of position again, but he didn't need to stay in position.
He disagreed.
I'm out of position, but I'll just finish and not worry about it. Third ball in a row, or third point this game where RAMPHADI's been caught off position.
Great point. This is an absolutely delightful match to watch. It is so unpredictable. It is full of momentum shifts. The Brazilians now have a break of serve. They are 4-3 to the good. Now what? Seems to be an interesting little dynamic there between Yevgenia Dedusheva, the chair umpire, and the Brazilian delegation at the change events. Perhaps a suggestion that they should keep their thoughts to themselves during the points.
Yeah, I think they're just energetically getting involved in the match. As you can understand, they're invested in this. And I think in the middle of some points, some of the points that extend and kind of have some high drama, I think they're just engaging a little bit too much when they're not supposed to be. And it's okay for them to have chats with their players on their side, and it doesn't interrupt any normal flow of play. But my guess is that the umpires picked up on a few conversations that they've been having mid-point. She was rather emphatic when she went over to talk with them.
Beautiful. Softness of touch there, not easy.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to come back to something I've talked about a couple of times. That's the setup right there. And that's why this is so much different. Look at that ball down at the feet there, and on the forehand side, he's comfortable there. And he should try to they should try to reproduce that lineup more often. Donald's going to be very much more dangerous in that position.
Those are so difficult to deal with, aren't they? Especially a left-hander going down the line like that straight from the serve.
He's done it a couple times now, so clearly he knows he's capable. He's going to hold that shot there for some key moments. We'll see if he's able to deliver. They could easily make a switch on a ball like that, where there's all day. He could throw something up, not on that one that wide there, but... See, and that's a forehand ball for Donald if he's on this side, which he is now. Yep.
Interesting. The first 2 points of this game were textbook from a returner's point of view for the South Africans. That third one less so.
Yeah, yeah. They got out of sorts there a little bit. Never really seemed to get any good looks. I'd be surprised if we saw an angled shot here from SITHOLE. Again. Well, just when you think somebody's going to kind of take charge and South Africa's going to roar back and get the break back, quick couple of points, and then boom, boom, air. And here we are, 30-all.
Things that's so fascinating about tennis is that you can solidify all of your thoughts about the outcome of a match, about the strategy, about the likely direction of the victory according to the form book, and then you can write it all down on a piece of paper and tear it into little pieces and throw it up into the air like confetti, because sometimes you just get into a match like this and it's a case of we're just gonna have to see what happens here.
Yeah, I mean, to use a military analogy, you know, and there's a lot of planning in the military. I've served myself. It's all good until the first bullet is fired. And then things change rapidly. It all goes out the window sometimes. It's the great teams that can kind of get back on the plan in the big moments.
I remember speaking to a coach recently who said, you've got the game plan and then this thing called the match comes along and ruins it.
Yes.
And that's the human nature you alluded to earlier. Things just start swirling in the head. In doubles, it's interesting because in singles you control everything, right? You're pretty much in control of everything you do, but here you're 1/4 of the whole component.
Oh,
where's that coming from?
What an outrageous shot from Ymanitu Silva. And the Brazilians suddenly find themselves just a game away from sending this into a tie-break.
And RAMPHADI's very happy with the return, thinks he's going to open up the court, thinks there's no angle, no real space for Silva to come back into, and yet Silva finds that little piece of the pie. What a delicious slice that was.
I called that a point earlier. I thought that was the point that had won them the game, but no, they still haven't quite held on yet.
There's that example of getting PENA pulled up, and look how that exposes that team, and that wasn't any overly dynamic shot, but Silva not able to track it down.
This is becoming one of those games that is monstrously difficult for either pair to get through.
SILVA.
Amazing, just caught the line.
Once again, it's the old lion SITHOLE there. He takes charge, proves to be too strong.
Times we've been at deuce in this game. There've been plenty of opportunities to get it won.
Double. Yep.
Yes.
Are we watching here the game that actually determines the outcome of this set? Because sometimes you feel it, don't you, that there's one single game.
100%. Yeah, the match can flip on game number one of a set sometimes when it gets into this kind of back and forth. It's an interesting dynamic in the sport. Typically the winner of this game is your winner, so you're right. It's going to be a bronze medal match game right here. Here's the lineup that favors the South Africans. They shouldn't shift it there. He's got to reach across for his body for any offensive opportunities through the middle now. This changes the whole dynamic.
They get the point nonetheless. And another huge reaction from SITHOLE. A second break point.
SITHOLE.
Now with the break opportunity, I don't know if SITHOLE is thinking about that return of serve down the line for a winner here. Gets the backhand this time. He's been good in these exchanges, SITHOLE. He's dialed in these lobs. He's going to get some looks here.
3 game points for the Brazilians. They were not able to take them. And the second break point for South Africa yields parity once again in this set. Exactly.
Says it all right there.
How they must be feeling now.
They should be renewed. They should be inspired to go forth here, get this hold, and be on the precipice of a medal. Gotta think it's a live arm coming from Lucas SITHOLE right now on the serve.
Gets the hold here, and suddenly the Brazilians are under immense scoreboard pressure.
Such a great term, scoreboard pressure. Everybody's looking at it, everybody knows, and it just has an immense amount of weight that just lays on you.
He can do it at the most unexpected of times, can't he? Produce those unreturnable efforts.
Yeah, we've seen both him and Silva, when given angle, return in kind at a higher level. It's been really a remarkable thing that they've been able to do on a number of occasions, too many times to make it seem like it's just random.
Well, 3 break points. South African pairing of Donald RAMPHADI and Lucas SITHOLE are in a very high pressure position in this second set.
These have come rapidly. Just when they thought that momentum shift had happened, it's like air has come out of the tires. And here they are, Brazilians, potentially serving for a set here shortly if they can get this break.
It continues to beguile us, this match, doesn't it? Utterly impossible to determine who has truly got the momentum in the set. But one thing is clear. Leandro, PENA and Ymanitu Silva are 1 game away from sending this to a match tiebreak. Well, I think we can safely say, after all we've seen in this match, that we can't safely say anything after all we've seen in this match.
All bets are off. We're just going to let it unfold and see it for ourselves as those at home are seeing it for themselves. There we go.
And we are thrilled to have your company for this bronze medal match in the quad doubles wheelchair tennis competition, Paris 2024, the Paralympic Games. It would be a first ever medal, not just for South Africa and Brazil, but for Africa and South America in wheelchair tennis at the Paralympic Games. This is immense.
Shot.
And on the subject of immense, that was anything but immense. It was light and dexterous and clever.
And that is showed to be very effective all day today. I mean, especially on the Silva side, he's not known for just really great speed, great court cover in the back, but not raw speed. Drop shot's going to expose that a little bit.
No, that's just flawless. Absolutely flawless.
Yeah, a mistake made there and an opportunity taken by the South Africans, but you'll see the slow switch. Silva had a ton of momentum going through the middle of the court. Pena just kind of hanging out, thinking, well, do I need to kind of cover behind him? Needed to get on the wheels early there. Didn't do it, paid the price.
Didn't get the placement right. Extraordinary.
Kind of tried to change the direction of the ball on that one, and again, probably has a nicer angle opportunity there, but he's gone on that play a couple times. Thought maybe he'd catch Pena leaning. Doesn't catch him at all. Makes the error.
Again, not quite right. The principle of it is completely clear, isn't it? And it is a point-winning position on both occasions.
Yeah, just going for a little too much. He should know that he just has to make that ball drop. It's not the angle there that's going to be the difference maker. Again, back to the speed of Silva. He drops it, probably in good shape. Looked like an easy game here. Now getting tense again.
From love 40 to deuce.
3 straight errors there.
And that's where psychologically it must be difficult not to let at least one of those linger in your mind and just think, if only I'd done this, if only I'd done that.
Started this game with an aggressive play through the middle. He's got to get back to that, swinging out a little bit to some very easier targets. Going for a little much now.
Tense game, isn't it?
It's starting to get that way. I think from this point on, we can expect nothing but tension. Here we are, 5-4 in the second. Brazil trying to level this thing to send us into a tension-filled tiebreaker.
If the Brazilians manage to convert this set, then to have done it from love 40 is going to feel just phenomenal. Set point now.
Yeah, those could be hard to come by. Yeah, those, you talk about lingering. Like, love 40, how we let that slide. But here we are.
6 out of 16 points, won on the second serve in the whole match for Brazil. And they've just won a magnificent 7th, because that is the set accomplished from love 40. Pena and Silva have forced a match tiebreak. If you thought it was tense before, that's nothing compared to what it's going to be like now. On we go.
10-point match tiebreak will be played to decide the match.
1 minute and 1 hour and 8 minutes, I should say. 23 unforced errors from RAMPHADI and SITHOLE, and that's a stark contrast to the 5 unforced errors they made in set number 1. Let's have a look back at this, Paul. A transformation, really. The Brazilians were a lot more secure.
Yeah, and I think the South Africans took that momentum from the first set, tried to stay aggressive, and the aggressive posture just kind of snaked on them a little bit. Trying to dictate play, forcing things a little bit, where the errors came from. And to their credit, though, Brazil really did earn that set. There were moments of brilliance on a couple of angled shots that we saw from both PENA and SILVA. Unexpected offensive outbursts out of the middle of nowhere at times.
The lovely setting of Paris 2024, the City of Light. And the match tiebreak will shed some light onto who is going to take the first ever Paralympic medal in wheelchair tennis for their country and their continent.
I don't expect the tension to be light at all in this tiebreaker we got coming up here. I expect it to be thick, dense, heavy, and ever-present.
Time.
Fans getting treated to something really special right here, which is awesome. Crowd continues to grow, fill up the seats, and they have to be aware that everything is on the line right now. That little guy's certainly aware. Look at him. Look at the intensity in that face.
So it begins. The match tiebreak. First to 10 points with a 2-point margin.
Merci.
The winner of this
Match tiebreak.
is on the podium.
RAMPHADI to
They
serve.
have the Paralympic bronze. It will be the South Africans to serve.
Seul, s'il vous plaît. Merci. Merci. Prenez place, s'il vous plaît.
Trying to get some spectators into their seats. Everyone wants to get whatever glimpse they can of this match.
Second serve.
Tough second serve after a big delay here.
They did well there, didn't they, RAMPHADI and SITHOLE, especially the server.
Yeah, tough circumstances. Did a really nice job of just kind of saying, you know what, roll this serve in. Really kind of caught SILVA off guard a little bit. Got a little half bounce return there. So totally jumped on it.
Merci. Merci.
Was the right call, wasn't it, from SILVA?
It was, and RAMPHADI's got to take a better job there of protecting his line a little bit. Although with that ball right there, he's got a lot of options. But Donald's got to create a little bit more chair again. We talked about that earlier. He's got time to get deeper in his recovery and then push in and have more momentum to be able to sprint out and cover on that ball. Gotta play to your strengths in moments like this, and that's not Donald RAMPHADI's strength right there, that looping ball. She'd be looking to drive something a little bit more, even if it's at one of those players, maybe try to tie him up and get a weak response that he could go clean up. Looping one in on that return to serve, not his strength.
It's still as clear as mud, isn't it, this one?
We're playing on the dirt anyway, so it might as well be dirty. That's not clean on the strings, but it's in.
Really didn't sit up nicely, did it? Too much height.
3-2.
Hush that just comes over the crowd once some of these points start and get in the middle, and it's just quiet. It's just waiting for something to unfold in front of them.
First point against serve in the tiebreak.
Typically the difference in these moments, it's the errors. It's always the errors. Nobody comes out and just blows 10 points past somebody. It's always about typically the unforced errors. Balls that you just make, typically return of serves. Really fundamental tennis in these moments.
They've spent, the Brazilians, virtually all of this match chasing the scoreboard. Suddenly, almost without us noticing, they're in the ascendancy. They're actually leading, and that's a different kind of pressure now for RAMPHADI and SITHOLE.
Yeah, and that's part of this dynamic of this format, which I really like. It creates these moments, which are magical moments. For magical shots like that. Where's that come from?
And at exactly the moment, Paul, when they needed a bit of magic.
I think sometimes it's easier to play from that behind position where you're just like, I've got to make something happen here, and I'm willing to do it. Sometimes you get that lead and you're kind of like, all right, play safe, play not to lose, and you get a little tentative.
Was there an opportunity spurned there?
We've seen that setup really the majority of the day. That PENA to SITHOLE exchange. This one, it's in favor of SITHOLE with the error. Again, got to reduce the errors.
No. Majestic tennis. What quality.
I think back to that tiebreaker that the South Africans won against the Chileans. It was RAMPHADI who was able to take over that tiebreaker with shots like this. We've seen 2 winners from him so far in this tiebreaker. He needs to continue that mindset. He is the big dog on the court right now. He's got to act like it.
It's in. Right plumb on the line. From 4-2 down, 6-4 they lead.
6-4. RAMPHADI SITHOLE.
Yes, thought that was going to sail.
That was good disciplined work from the Brazilians.
Well, Lucas a little bit too committed to the middle there, had too much ground to cover. Couldn't get there in time.
Well, would you expect this match tiebreak to be anything other than as full of as many directional changes as the match itself has had?
I would not expect otherwise. We're getting the full treat here.
There. He's done it. He's made it. It's incredible. What a point that was. The defensive play from the Brazilians to draw it level at 6-all.
Yeah, Silva was able to read that drop shot from RAMPHADI this time and get on the wheel soon enough to impact and get on it.
6-all.
This is glorious, isn't it?
Yeah, this is what we've signed up for. High drama, high intensity, everything on the line. Can you take the time as an athlete right now to tell yourself, this is what I've dreamt of?
Thank you.
This is the moment that I wanted to be in.
Merci.
And embrace it.
Just to remind you, match tiebreak, first to 10.
Too much. Silva's been very good with the angle today. But not on that one. Look of intensity there. Opportunity lost there from the Brazilians. We'll see how it unfolds.
That was extraordinary, Paul, and he knows it. Leandro PENA. You actually saw the doubt, didn't you?
Yeah, you could see that he was just uncertain in that moment. And then once it got to that second bounce, he had no choice. Really wasn't in a position to finish from a position when he was just couldn't be in a better spot. That one right there is a big difference maker.
8-6, 2 points required for the South Africans.
Too much. Again, it's just got to be a drop. You don't need the extra angle there.
8-7. RAMPHADI SITHOLE.
You know, he's cutting across in the middle, so he's creating momentum with his chair. So despite the fact that he's got a soft touch, that ball's going to continue to travel with him because of his chair momentum. He's got to know that he's got to just drop it, and it'll find its way out to that sideline.
Tension, tension, tension. 8-all.
That missed opportunity from PENA seems like a long time ago now. And here we are, 8-all.
First South African double fault in the entire match.
I don't want to be hitting this second serve either right now. Come on, Donald, let's go. Talk to yourself.
Merci.
He is uncomfortable right now. Oh, he
Great
gets
reach.
it.
What an incredible moment that was. RAMPHADI somehow got that ball in play from the serve.
I mean, I'm a long way from where they are right now, but I can feel it. I mean, it is palpable, right? And I think that 1st to 9 there is so critical.
RAMPHADI.
I won't be surprised if we get back to 9-all, but right now I feel like, wow, a relief. South Africans with an opportunity.
The match, RAMPHADI SITHOLE.
Bronze for South Africa. History for all of Africa.
10-8.
Donald RAMPHADI and Lucas SITHOLE, the first from an entire continent to win a medal in wheelchair tennis at the Paralympic Games. And that's one of the toughest matches they'll have ever won in their lives.
Just take the moment right now to look at the joy and the utter exhilaration of those two young men and the team coming out in support. Look at that. Look at the spirit right there of the games. These guys travel together, partner together, play together, compete against each other in this moment. Joy and sorrow on exhibition right here. All in the same moment.
Donald RAMPHADI and Lucas SITHOLE beat Leandro, PENA and Ymanitu Silva 6-2, 4-6, 10-8 in the match tiebreak in 2 hours and 4 minutes. And for Lucas SITHOLE to have endured a loss in a bronze medal match 8 years ago at the Paralympic Games, he has come back, and this time he will not be denied.
What a career moment for him and for his partner and for all of South Africa. So many of these Paralympians, you look at their bios and you read about what it means to come to these games. All of them talk about, I'm coming here to medal. And that dream has now been realized by these two.
Donald RAMPHADI and Lucas SITHOLE of South Africa, bronze medal winners. The first from not just their nation, but their entire continent to win a medal in wheelchair tennis at the Paralympics.
It gave us everything we hoped it would. From start to finish, when we talk about it, we're just here prognosticating, trying to figure it all out. How could it unfold? It could not have unfolded any better for our, if you want to just call it, entertainment and enjoyment. Because ultimately that's what sport is. It's brought into our lives to kind of enrich us and fill us full of emotion. We saw it all on display here in this stadium. What an environment.
Over 2 hours of absolutely enthralling tennis in the quad doubles competition. Donald RAMPHADI and Lucas SITHOLE beating Leandro, PENA and Ymanitu Silva. And they did it in a way that frankly feels, to look at any single point of data there would be really rather crass, because this was about just good old-fashioned human endurance, wasn't it? Getting through that match, getting through that tension, surviving that occasion.
I think the one moment that really stands out to me is the second serve of Donald RAMPHADI. when he misses his first serve at 8-all, and he's serving, and he misses the first, and then he couldn't get comfortable. Tried to toss, couldn't get comfortable. Times going on, thoughts going through his head. You could see him try to get a hold of his breathing. Somehow rolls that serve in and gets that point underway, gets him to 9-8, and then ultimately the